We have, here at the big conference, we are actually premiering a new report. And you're going to be the first to hear about it, everybody in this room. This report is a report that was done in partnership with the Fund for Humanity, which is an organization in our community who funds this conference. It's part of the reason you all are here. In partnership with the National Science Foundation to look at AI and look at the impact of AI on job loss. I'm going to just do a little framing here because I think this is really important. One, this report, everything you're about to see is what's going to happen based on all of the research and data in the next 36 months. This is a very short-term analysis of impact of AI on jobs. So a lot of the time when we talk about AI, it's this very nebulous, oh, it's going to come for our jobs, or this thing is happening. But it's easy for us to just project it into in 10 years, in 15 years, whatever it is. This is really starting 4 months ago or so, and 36 months forward. So as you're looking at this, we want to share this because from our perspective, the numbers are alarming, and the impact of some of this, in particular on our communities who are already working in low-wage jobs that are going to go away and no longer there will not be replacement jobs for a lot of our community members. What's really amazing about this report is that it's not just overall what's going to happen, but it goes into specific sectors and specific job titles. So this is a very direct, frank way for us to start having conversations about what's going to start going away almost immediately. Now, for all of us, we want to, of course, be thinking about the impact of this on our community members. That's our first place to go. So yesterday we talked about the shitstorm that's coming based on the budget and this kind of gap of funding for all of the things that impact our community. This is going to show us a whole nother side of something that's coming for our community, a loss of what we call traditional income. At the same time, we just spent a little bit of time talking about who are the bad actors, who are the people who are profiting the most, who might we go and try to scrape money from to be able to fund scaled basic income. You might learn of some new bad guys, because as we go through this report, what we're going to see is industries who are going to start massively profiting off of AI. Their expenses from payroll are going to go way down. And so there might be some new folks that we want to add to our list. As you're listening to this report, and any of the sessions, any of the presentations for the next 40 minutes, continue to take notes in your folder, in your notebook, on stickies. If you need paper, raise your hand at any point, and we'll come around and drop additional paper if you don't have those things. But think about what you're hearing and the impacts on this idea of what are we going to do about it as a movement. And so with no further ado, I'm going to invite Judy Shapiro up here to walk us through some of the report.
Thank you. Ooh, I'm short. Hang on a second. Can everybody hear me okay? Awesome. I am so honored to be joining this community. I've been working with the Fund for Humanity now for 6 years. And it was, as many of you know, founded by Giselle Huff in memory of her son. And it's appropriate to start with her, so I'm going to try and figure out how to get this up. There it is. When we first started with Giselle, it was very much, UBI was labeled in many unfortunate ways. Socialist, fascist, communist, every ist you could think of, which was unfortunate. And then Andrew Yang, anybody remember him? Yeah. Yeah, he made it the cornerstone of his candidacy. It didn't work out the way we would have wanted, but it did do something important. It brought the conversation to the forefront. because before then it was just considered too fringe to even be realistic. And so this book, some of you may be aware of it, was actually written by Gerald Huff fairly shortly before he died in 2017. And the book is actually prescient. It tells us what's going to happen in a world that is dominated by AI. I won't do a spoiler alert about what the book is about. Feel free to read it for yourself. But it really speaks about how AI will sweep across the country and the world and create a fundamental change in how we think about work, how we think about employment, how we think about how we participate in this tech-driven world. And the book, importantly, again, this is 2017. He was an engineer at Tesla. He really did help us understand how to contextualize what's happening, and he gave us a roadmap. And here was the main insight of the book. Many of us have lived through technological changes in our lifetime. I worked at Bell Labs, for instance, when internet was being introduced. We had no idea what it was going to do, and we got so much wrong. We really got a lot wrong of how it was going to evolve, both on the good side and the bad side. The same is going to happen with AI. It's not just a new technology that's being dropped into the pond. It is actually transforming the way we work, the way we live, the way we participate in our communities. And unless we understand how foundational it is, it's not just another new technology. And that's why AI really could become the propellant, the thing that moves UBI into a different level of conversation. Because as we'll see, the impact on workers is significant. Stacy did a great job of summarizing the report. By the way, I have a little table outside with the postcard so you can access the report. There's a QR code back there, sorry. So let me talk a little bit about this report. It was about a year's worth of work. And what it did, it took all the industries that the government tracks and every job within every industry. So you have 20 industries, you have thousands and thousands of jobs. I forgot what the count was. But every single job will get scored for what the impact of AI is. And we actually look at it in a balanced way, because it would be unfortunate if everybody just came away saying, AI is going to kill jobs and that's the end of the story. That's not the end of the story. And we have to have a full contextual understanding of what the story really is, which is that AI will disrupt jobs in the short term. I used to think it was 36 months. This report was a 36 view. I think that's probably off now by about a year. So 2038 is happening today, as Stacy said, and it's going to accelerate. But it also does something else, which is really important, and this is how we support the community. It will create jobs. Internet was the same thing. It decimated categories of jobs, but it also created many new ones. So we can't just have this AI is bad. AI can be a negative influence for sure, but it will ultimately lead to more jobs. And the reason that's important is we have to be able to create opportunities for people. Not just, you're going to lose your job and too bad and that's the end of the world. It really is about how do we create that opportunity for the next 20 years. This is the table of contents. Don't be intimidated. It's a 400-page report, just saying. If any of you are math geeks, you will have a grand old time, seriously, because you'll be able to unpack it layer by layer. About 175 pages of it is actually just the appendix. Yeah, when you work with the NSF, they don't mince data. They will give it to you. And I mean that in every sense of the word. But there is an executive summary for people who just really want to get to the highlights. There is every industry and every job in every industry will have 3 scores: a disruption score, a creation score, and what we call the impact score. What's the net gain or loss? In most cases, it is a net loss in the short term, and I keep emphasizing that so we don't lose sight of where the real salvation could be. UBI plus creating this new job creation. I do want to point out that at the very top is an executive summary that's easy to read. It shouldn't be too intimidating, but that'll give you the highlights. The net of it is about 40 million jobs will get disrupted in the next, I'll say, 24 to 36 months. Take your pick. So 40 million. And we've all seen reports. That's not really the news, but it tells you job by job by job by job by job where those disruptions. So a good example, and Stacy suggested this, a lot of the jobs are in the ones you expect, truck drivers, service, but a lot of them are also in jobs you wouldn't expect. And I'm going to give you two simple examples. There are two different technology jobs, a security IT analyst and a systems analyst. An IT security analyst is the one that's looking at network and seeing what the vulnerabilities are. AI will replace that job. But a systems analyst, AI cannot replace that job because you have to look across systems. So while we all think of the AI being a really difficult technology, it does have its limits. I suspect over the next 5 years, a lot of those limits will be melting away. I'm no prophet. I can't tell you exactly how, but for what we can foresee based on the data, things that are teachers will be disrupted. I'm sorry to say this for any teachers out there, but teachers will be disrupted because AI can create learning plans, they can create curriculums, they could do analysis, they can support students directly one-on-one. So you might be surprised at what jobs are disrupted and what jobs aren't. Stacy referred to this, and I just wanted to give an example of what I was just talking about. So those industries, these are industries. Each industry has hundreds, maybe thousands of jobs underneath it. Those are the top industries to get disrupted. But when you unpack it, when you look beneath the surface data, you'll see both hourly workers and salaried workers will get impacted. Not just the people you would naturally think. It is both, not the cashiers and the truck drivers and those kinds of jobs, but things like insurance, bookkeeping, many jobs across the spectrum. And I think that's the real net takeaway for us today. AI disruption goes beyond what we traditionally would have expected. It goes beyond what we traditionally would have expected. It goes into hourly and salaried workers. I'm in Washington. I don't know if sirens mean anything here. I'm like, okay. Sorry. I'm New Yorker. We're a little jittery bunch. But that's the net takeaway. In the past, the conversation has been about AI replacing the truck drivers and that somehow they will get reskilled. Nonsense. X number of jobs will never be retrained because they don't need to be retrained. There's no 50-year-old truck driver that's going to become a programmer or a prompt engineer or any of the other new jobs that are being created, right? I'm actually going to kind of go this way just so I could read it because I won't remember it off the top of my head. As I said, about 40, can you still hear me okay, everybody? Okay. 41 million workers will be displaced. And what's really, really critical to understand is many of them will be permanently. There's no exit ramp. There's no off-ramp for these folks, right? And what are they going to do? And again, for me, this is really where UBI becomes a critical safety net. I don't know exactly the rate of change. For instance, I work with AI, I do, and every time I think I can figure out how it's going to progress, I am wrong. And just like internet, when we were at Bell Labs, I'll give you a funny example. At Bell Labs, we created the technology to do anonymous browsing. Did we bother to introduce it? Nah, who needed it? At the time, internet was just to read, obscure papers on some, education website. We got it wrong a lot. The same will happen here. And that's both an opportunity and a warning. We will get a lot wrong. Will it happen faster? Possibly. Will it take longer? Possibly. We do know for sure that bad actors will make use of it. That we know. That we know. And you could see that by the next. This was straight out of an article, I believe it was The Guardian. CEOs, whether they want to admit it or not publicly, are banking on AI reducing their costs. They are banking on it. The most visible example is Amazon, right, where they're moving very quickly to an automated warehouse. Now, again, part of me is, humans having to schlep and carry and move, and, it's tedious and it's difficult work. But by the same token, those jobs feed families, they feed communities, they support many organizations. So what's their off-ramp? And UBI becomes more urgent in that context. The last one is really probably, for me, the most meaningful. The vision of full automation of the economy, a vision some of the biggest names in Silicon Valley will fund. It's not just a matter of it's going to happen organically because there's some opportunity. They're going after it. They're going after it, and they are funding it at levels that, frankly, stagger me. I mean, when I see how much money is going into many of the AI projects that I'm aware of, forget what I don't know, we're talking billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. So make no mistake about it, AI is not just a train moving forward. It is, it actually is part of a very different world. I don't know here who has kids, but the world that they're going to inhabit is very different than the world that we know today. It is very different, and none of us can predict exactly how, but one thing we do know for sure, it will be different. It will be better, and it will be worse. And so preparing the next generation for this coming economic potential collapse is very critical, because if you have 41 million people that are out of work, just imagine the ripple effect. Just imagine it for a moment. Imagine the ripple effect for those that are in communities. Imagine the ripple effect for those in families. Imagine the elderly. Imagine people just coming up into industries. It is all-encompassing. And that is probably one of the biggest reasons why UBI becomes more important, because it's not isolated to a couple of categories of jobs. It's not isolated to a generation. It's not isolated to a particular industry. It is all-encompassing. Like I said, outside their card, so everybody will be able to access it. This is the premiere of this report. So it was finished about a month and a half ago and is being rolled out to audiences like this. I encourage each and every one of you to take the time to get the report out to your stakeholders, to who you reach, political, community, because it begins to give data to support why UBI is so critical. It's fine if McKinsey says, oh, 40 million people are going to lose their jobs. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything to me. But if you could say, hey, teachers, you're vulnerable. Here's how you can be prepared for that future. That's when it becomes productive. That's when the conversation around AI is just not about fear-mongering, but about how do we move forward? What is the plan? The work that you guys do, this community, is foundational to that society change. Foundational. There are two tools. Okay, the irony is not lost on me, everyone, just for the record. But there are two, I know, sorry. There are two AI-driven chatbots. One will let you ask questions just on the data side of the chatbot, right? Just like, how many jobs are going to be lost here or there? Or who are the contributors? By the way, in the report are all the contributors. Scott Santens is one of the major contributors. There's a whole section on UBI. So it talks about what do we need to do to prepare for the future. UBI is one of the 5 recommendations, just so we're clear. Exactly right. And now you deserve a double clap because, again, the National Science Foundation has no interest in anything. In other words, they have no stake in any legislation, one way or the other. The fact that it was clear to them UBI was a foundational part of that solution is a real credit to all the work you guys have been doing for so long. The second part is one of these tools that we are particularly mindful of, because if you're a teacher or an accountant or whatever your job is, you can type in your job and you will get a disruption score from 0 to 1. Spoiler alert, if something is a 99, you're likely to get AI'd out of a job. And so this is meant to be a very clear indication of how AI at a philosophical level would disrupt jobs, but this is the human side of it. This is the human side of it. This is how we understand jobs, what is at risk, who's at risk. If you're an oil rig miner person, you're good. You're not going to get replaced that fast. But teachers, jobs you would think would be secure will actually be disrupted. A few last points, and then I'll leave it to Stacy to wrap this up. But you guys have been working tirelessly for years, tirelessly. And it's hard to make these kinds of mega social changes because certainly politicians don't act just because they think it's the right thing to do. That is not the history of our political system, at least so far. The last time there was a social justice kind of thing was Social Security. But typically it grinds on and grinds on. AI really is that moment that I think is unduplicated and unduplicatable for the UBI message to really gain some political and legislative currency. Because everybody kind of knows how it's going to happen with AI, but this report is your toolkit. It's the toolkit you guys can use to say it's not just a theoretical conversation. It is exactly what it means. Here's what it means. And by taking the banner and really distributing the report as broadly and as widely as you can will help get that word out. Because right now the AI conversation around job displacement tends to be a little philosophical. Oh, it's not going to affect me. You know, I do this. I can't imagine AI replacing me. Well, they'd be wrong. But B, more importantly, they wouldn't fully appreciate how the rate of change of AI will accommodate and will encompass more and more jobs. Okay? I'm actually going to... I'm going to end with this one point, and that's why the work you guys do is so critical. Because it's easy to get lost in a technology conversation. It's easy, right? I work in technology all the time. And I'm like, oh, gee, can it process this, or the language model to do that, or whatever the technical conversation is. But at the end of the day, you guys represent the human spirit, the human heart, and the human soul to really affect a human change. AI is just a technology. That's all. It's nothing more than that. It's people that affect change. It's people that activate technology. And it's people that really help the progress of how technology participates in the world that we live in.